Morning. Good evening, everybody. Morning for some of you, evening for most of us. Welcome. We're really glad you're here. My name is Jessen Hobson. I'm a professor of accountancy here at the accounting department at the University of Illinois, the Gies School of Business. Also, I'm the director of the University of Illinois Deloitte Foundation Center for Business Analytics. Our numbers are trickling in. We've got a really big group already, so we'll go ahead and get started right now. So on behalf of the Gies College of Business, my fellow accounting faculty that will be panelists for us today, Kim Mendoza and Vic Anand, and then two wonderful friends from Deloitte who will be joining us as well on a panel, Beth Mueller and Evan Palmer. We welcome you to our accountancy webinar, Becoming a Data-Driven Decision Maker. So let me lay out the plan for the next hour. So our plan today is to have this wonderful distinguished group of panelists speak to you. They're here, they're ready to answer questions as well, but we'll give them some chance to give some opening remarks. So each of them will get about 5 minutes to talk about the growing demand for business analytics and business analytics professionals and the opportunities that this creates for you. Again, this is a fantastic panel. Each of them are top experts in the field. We have, again, two professionals from Deloitte who do this every day. I mean, analytics is what they do. And that's, we're excited to hear from them. We have two faculty members that not only teach analytics in our Masters of Accounting program, in our business analytics concentration, but also have created a lot of the content that you're going to have as students here when you take those classes. So we're grateful to have all four of them here. So again, we'll start with giving them some opening comments, but we definitely want to hear from you. We want to hear your questions, and what we'd like you to do, even starting now, just go ahead and put questions in the Q&A. All right, so don't use the chat, but go down and click on the Q&A, put questions in. We're very excited to answer those. We want this to be useful for you. If the question is about the program, the degree, admission, stuff like that, we have a whole team in the background here ready to answer those questions and answering them real time. Now, if there's questions for the panel, by all means, we look forward to answering those. We've set aside quite a bit of time to answer those questions. So please also put those in. And then if you go into the Q&A and you see a question that you think is interesting, that you would like to hear the answer for, then by all means, click the upvote the question. So, go to the question you like, and right next to it there, you can push the upvote button there in the Q&A window, so we can know what questions you're most interested in and get those answered. Look, we really think that when you leave today, that you'll have a much better idea of why Gies Accounting is the best place for you to become a data-driven decision maker. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'll have just a couple remarks. I'd like to let you know why I firmly believe that our master's program is cutting edge in data analytics education, and why our department is really the best place for you to prepare yourself to be a data-driven decision maker. And so I've been here since we really started focusing on analytics many years ago, and I've seen the whole progression. And so I could give you a lot of reasons why I think this is a great place to be and a great place for you to learn. But I'll give you just two. The first one is our cutting edge curriculum. So of course, accountancy at the University of Illinois and the Gies College has always been cutting edge in our traditional accounting education. I mean, this is the place where the first PhD graduated in accounting. This is one of the first CPA exams, I think, in the whole state was done here at the University of Illinois. So we've now added to that this cutting edge STEM-based accounting-infused data analytics education. And I really think it's top notch. Again, Kim and Vic both teach and develop this stuff, and so they'll talk to us soon. So that's reason number one. The second reason is this wonderful partnership we have with Deloitte. Because of this partnership, we've created a multi-million-dollar center, which is focused on analytics and analytics education. And so the center, the University of Illinois Deloitte Foundation Center for Business Analytics, takes the best of our accounting department in analytics, the best of Deloitte in analytics, combines those and creates material. And then we distribute that across the world. So we really are a worldwide leader in that content. So those are my reasons. But you don't want to hear from me anymore. Let's go ahead and turn some time over to our panelists. The first panelist that we have that will speak to you is Beth Mueller. Now, Beth is a tax partner at Deloitte. She's the leader of the Tax Analytics Insight practice. So that she's helping clients all over with their tax departments, help them use analytics to their best ability. She also leads innovation for the business tax practice and tax efforts, for example, learning how to use artificial intelligence in tax. Beth has a MS from Southern Illinois University, from SIU. We're very grateful to have her here. I'm just particularly grateful that she not only is here speaking to you guys, but also is on the board of the Deloitte Center. I'm grateful for her efforts and guidance there. So go ahead, Beth.
Absolutely. It's great to be here and great to talk with all of you tonight. I'm certainly passionate about this area, and we'll tell you a little bit about why. I grew up in our tax practice as a run-of-the-mill tax professional. I got my CPA, as Jessen said, I got my master's degree in accounting, and spent most of my career to date working with mid-sized companies and helping them navigate federal and international tax issues. About 5 years ago, I got involved with analytics and was asked to help the firm create a growth strategy around it. How are we going to deploy analytics in the field of tax? Is it relevant? How is it relevant? What are we going to do? And from there, have turned from a growth strategy to starting the business in our tax function around delivering custom developed analytics to our clients, helping to drive analytics through our services within the firm, and now starting to get into areas of artificial intelligence. And so let me tell you why I'm interested in this field and why I think you should be interested in this field. And I'll give you two reasons to start with. First, let me give you the strategic lens from a company's point of view. That when you look at the finance function, where most of our services in audit and tax sit, we talk about the four faces of a CFO. And those are steward, operator, catalyst, and strategist. The steward role, the steward face of a CFO, is the protector of assets and making sure that I manage risk. The operator role is make sure I do all that efficiently, make sure I run the finance organization very efficiently. Those two roles are where CFOs have traditionally spent most of their time, being a steward and an operator. The push is for CFOs and for their entire organization to spend more time in the strategist and catalyst role. The strategist is driving strategy for the organization with a financial health mindset. And that's the catalyst role. And the strategist role is shaping the strategy. And so if you want to spend less of your time counting your assets, protecting your assets, and figuring out how to run an efficient organization, and spend more of your time in strategy and direction and influencing the organization, being a good business partner, the only way you're going to get there is through better use of technology. And so that's why every single one of my clients, why our organization is so interested in this field of analytics. It's how we're going to get there. Now, if that theoretical and maybe futuristic to your career point of view doesn't sway you, let me give you a second really practical reason why I'm interested in this area for you. For you, it can be a real differentiator as you start to enter your career, to leave a school of the caliber of U of I with an accounting education and have strong skills in the field of analytics is a fantastic resume. We can't find enough people in the market who have that skill set. We are looking for people who can think differently, and because of the curriculum that you experience in this space, you learn to think differently. So let me spend just a minute talking about how we're using analytics, how we're starting to use artificial intelligence in the area of audit and in tax. And what it really comes down to is this ability to drive insight. insight from data, not just check data and not just convert data from one form into a tax return or into an audit report, but to really drive insight. How can I use it to analyze large data sets? How can I find trends and patterns? How can I expand the array of variables that I have to analyze? How can I use automation? And we talk about it in terms of humans with machines. How can we use machines and algorithms and computers and new approaches to help the humans make stronger, faster, smarter, better decisions more quickly? And so the importance to all of you for doing this, one, I think you are going to be the professional of the future with this skill set. And that future is here and now in the workforce. I think that it provides a tremendous opportunity to expand the reach of your knowledge into some real applied areas. So with that, Jessen, let me turn it back over to you. I'll look forward to more Q&A in a little bit.
Yeah, me too. Excellent, Beth. Thank you so much. Yeah, we do have questions coming in, so keep those coming. Those are fantastic. Again, use the Q&A because we're not able to look at the chat. So the Q&A, upvote the questions if you like them. Thank you very much, Beth. Fantastic comments. Kim, let's move to Kim Mendoza. So Kim Mendoza is a colleague of mine at the University of Illinois. She's a faculty member, an assistant professor in accountancy. She's also the R.C. Evans Innovation Fellow in the Innovation Disruption Lab at the Gies College. She has a PhD in accounting, and she teaches ACCI 570, which is our data analytics foundations course, which really takes the accountant and helps them, brings in the business analytics. So we'll go ahead and turn the time over to Kim.
Sure, thanks, Jessen. So I'm Kim Mendoza. Jessen kind of talked about my background a little bit. I got my PhD at the University of Washington, but before that, I spent a few years as an auditor in public accounting. So back then, data analytics wasn't as big of a thing, but now it's really an exciting area. So I'm really happy to be in this area. I teach ACCI 570. That is the first course that students will take in the master's program if they choose the data analytics track. So that course, Vic and I actually developed it basically from scratch. So it was a lot of fun to do, but also a lot of work because there aren't any courses like it that we could base our course on. There's no accounting data analytics textbook out there that we could use. And I think the fact that we had to build that course from scratch kind of goes to show how Gies is really pushing the boundaries of data analytics and really trying to be on the cutting edge of what's available to our students. And we want to offer that to you so that you can stand out from other people when you're trying to go and get a job and have your careers. So I'll talk a little bit about what that course looks like. So in that course, we teach some Python programming using accounting as a backdrop. So we give you some basics in programming in Python so that you can analyze data. We aren't teaching you to become computer programmers, but we do think understanding data analytics through Python is a really good way to analyze data because it forces you to understand all of the steps to get to your data analysis. And we also think that teaching a programming language helps you to think differently, kind of like what Beth was talking about. So programming makes you really think about all of the steps in the process. We also teach you using Python how to clean data and to manipulate data. And then we shift gears a little bit and start teaching visualizations using Tableau. So Tableau is a really popular program out there, software out there for doing visualizations. So we teach you how to create a bunch of visualizations, but we don't just teach you how to create visualizations, we also teach you when to use what visualization, which is a really important skill that I think not everyone has. You can often create a visualization, but you don't know when do I use a histogram versus a heat map. So we really try to go the extra step in teaching you the why we use different things. Then we, at the end of ACCI 570, we end on my favorite unit, which is Robotic Process Automation, RPA. So in this unit, students are learning how to create software robots that will actually automate processes that a human would normally do. So you create software bots in an accounting setting that would create invoices with the click of a button. So instead of having to type everything in, your robot will just write everything for you. So that's a really fun unit. Beyond teaching analytics, I also do a lot of research in the technology or emerging technology space. So how technology influences accounting and auditors and investors. For example, I'm researching technologies like artificial intelligence and how that is being used in the audit setting. I also research automation in the financial advisor setting. So I really love teaching data analytics because it's a really good fit between what I'm teaching and what I'm researching. The last thing that I'm doing related to data analytics in the master's program is this year, I just started RPA Club, or Robotic Process Automation Club. I started it because when I was teaching RPA, a lot of my students wanted to learn more about creating software bots, not just for accounting purposes, but because they wanted to make their own lives easier by creating a robot that could do things for them on their computer. So that's basically what the club does. Students who are interested in learning more about RPA join the club, and we get together and we're talking about different things, processes in our lives that we want to automate, and then we figure out how to do that. So we've already created some really cool bots, like bots that can scrape the web for data, so open up a bunch of web pages and grab data. So things like that, and I'm really excited to see where that club goes. So that's kind of my background and what I'm currently doing in the master's program related to data analytics. So I'll turn it back to Jessen.
Thanks, Kim. Fantastic. Really appreciate those comments. Let's go next to another colleague of mine, Vic Anand. So Vic is a faculty member as well. He is responsible for a lot of our curriculum. You just heard Kim talk about how she and Vic created ACCI 570. Vic also created 575, the class that comes after 570. So he's very versed in this. He's served as an R.C. Evans Data Analytics Fellow, creating content for the Deloitte Center. He is also a John Deere Analytics Teaching Fellow. Vic has a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering, an MBA, and then a PhD, of course, in accounting. So Vic, go ahead.
Thanks, Jessen. I'm going to start by telling you all just a tiny bit about me, but most of what I'm going to say is about 570 and 575, the two courses that are really at the heart of our analytics offerings that Kim and Jessen have been talking about. So data analytics, in my opinion, is at the confluence of three things. So data, statistics, programming. And it's weird. It's such a perfect fit for me and my background. I started off, as Jessen said, as an engineer. I did a lot of computer science stuff so I've been programming since I was like 10. That's not so rare now, but for my generation, it is. And then in my PhD training, a lot of what we do as accounting researchers is around data and statistics. So everything kind of came together, and they tapped me to teach data analytics. Some of my research is around using machine learning to predict company earnings and cash flows. I do a lot of simulation work with cost systems. So it all kind of blends in together. And if you end up having me for any of these courses, I'd be happy to talk to you more about that. But let's talk about you. And if you decide to do the MAS or MSA program here, the heart of our offerings are 570 and 575. Kim talked to you a little bit about 570. I'm going to maybe rehash a little bit of that. I had a hand in developing both courses. And let me tell you about our overarching goal. When we designed both courses, we wanted to make them useful for accounting students. The emphasis on accounting. These courses should not appeal to students all over campus. You shouldn't be able to take these courses and teach them anywhere over campus. We wanted to focus on accounting tasks and financial data. And a lot of the motivation and the ideas for the content came from talking to professionals like Evan at the big four firms. We talked to a number of people who were 3-4 years out, and they were saying, I had to learn a lot of this analytics stuff after college. I really wish I'd had this in college. So that was what we were going for. In addition to trying to focus on accounting students, our other philosophy is learn to walk before you can run. Many of the students coming in have zero programming experience, and we're sensitive to that. So 570, which Kim and I have been teaching, is the learn to walk. As she said, we want to teach you how to think programmatically. We want to teach you, if you have data and there's a question you're trying to answer, what are the steps you need to take to transform that data and get an insight out of it? And those steps are completely independent of the programming language. We chose Python for a number of reasons we can talk about later, but it's really independent of the programming language. It's independent of Tableau. These are all steps that you're going to take with data no matter what. So 570 is, get your feet wet with data. 575 is, I'm reluctant to say learn to run, maybe learn to jog, learn to trot. 575 is much more like what you will do on the job. You get the course is all cases. There's like maybe 5 to 6 cases. It varies a little bit every semester as we tweak it. And each case will last about 3 weeks. And a case is, here's a business problem, here's some data, here's some questions. Why don't you extract some insights? Try to answer some of these questions from the data. And one of my favorite cases is an internal audit case. You're given a data set of transactions, the rules, and we say, go look for internal control violations. So for example, did any employee violate the monthly spending limit? And let's translate that quickly. You have a data set of individual transactions. You need to somehow group that by an employee ID and a date or a month, and then sum the total amount per employee and then see who violated the threshold. That's an example of thinking programmatically. You have the data, you have the question, what are the steps you need to take? And, we have some internal audit, we have some managerial, some financial accounting. And, I hate to say this, Kim, but 575 was actually one of my best teaching experiences ever because it was so intimate. The way the course typically worked is a student, the case would last 3 weeks. The first day we'd lecture a little bit, but then for the next 6 classes, they would come in, get into groups, sit down and get to work. And then the TA and I would circulate around the room and sit down with each group and work with them closely. A lot of 1-on-4 interaction. And to give you an idea of how well this worked, there's a colleague of ours taught a section of a different course right after my section of 575. And so she would come in after the bell had rang and start getting ready for class. And I literally have to kick students out, say, we're done. You got to leave. There's another class coming. And my colleague would say, what are you doing in here? What? I've never seen a class where students didn't want to get up and go when the bell rang. What's going on here? So I joke, I bribe them or whatever, but that's how it went. Students really got a lot out of it. I get lots of emails from former students about how useful this is on the job. So if you come and do this, I think you'll get something out of it. In summary, the goal is to teach you how to use data to get insight into business problems. Jessen, back to you.
Awesome, Vic. Thanks. I appreciate those comments, and I love that class as well. All right, so Vic talked about Evan, and then let's let him talk to us. And I think you'll be interested to hear what he has to say because he's closer to your age and kind of where many of you are at. Evan is a senior data analytics specialist within Deloitte's Audit Analytics group over in Chicago. So he's focusing on developing and implementing a bunch of tools and technologies that are being used by the audit teams. He's also proficient in many of these tools that we teach in our courses, including Tableau, R, Python, and SQL. He did graduate from the University of Illinois and took both our bachelor's and our master's program. So Evan, I know we're excited to hear from you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Jessen. Excited to talk here today as well. So yeah, I'm Evan Palmer. I've been working at Deloitte for almost the past 5 years now within the audit analytics group. And as Jessen mentioned, basically what I do is I help create solutions that either add efficiency or effectiveness to an audit engagement or actually across the audit industry. So for example, I work a lot within the power and utilities and oil and gas industries. We try to build specific tools catered to those industries as well. I was a graduate from the MAS program at the University of Illinois. And I'll just say that I was provided a lot of great opportunities here, whether it's internships for corporate, public accounting, as well as some academic research that I did over a summer. I had a lot of cool experiences that were, in part due to, having the opportunity to attend school at the University of Illinois. But to go into my story a little bit, I didn't have a traditional data analytics background. This was kind of before Illinois was big into the analytics, programs and things like that. So I wasn't as familiar, but I was actually interviewing with Deloitte kind of in their audit practice. And during the interviews, I was kind of sharing some of my experience as it related to my internships and academic research. I was talking about how I like to improve processes. Now I really like to do different innovative things to, make things more efficient. And Deloitte kind of saw in me, I guess, they were starting up this audit analytics team, which was all about that. And they kind of saw in me that I might be a great fit for this team. So I was a little bit hesitant at first because, like I mentioned, I didn't have this specific background in analytics. I had taken some, a programming course at Illinois, and later I also took a database systems management course as well. But, I was a little hesitant, but at the same time, I was also like really excited too, because I knew that this would be an opportunity where I could really learn and explore, but also kind of be comfortable working at an accounting firm where I could use my accounting skills as well. So since starting at Deloitte, I've really been able to hone these skills, kind of what we've talked about earlier. Statistical programming, I've gotten better at, Python and R. I use those on a day-to-day basis. I use visualization tools like Tableau, Power BI, kind of helping create risk assessment visualizations for audit teams. And then really building on that, I'm also, focusing a lot on statistical learning and machine learning and trying to really enhance my skill set in that area as well. And then, just finally bringing it all together is really my accounting education. I work together with audit teams every single day. So, having that background in accounting has really helped me relate back to the teams. I can understand exactly what they need and can also show them what's available in terms of analytics. So in this role, I've really, been able to hone my skills. And I'd just like to say that having this dual background of analytics and accounting, it's really helped me grow my career. My very first year at Deloitte, for example, I was able to build a tool for the energy industry that's been globally deployed and kind of used across most of the large engagements at Deloitte. And that's in part due to, the opportunity of having this dual skill set in analytics and accounting. So when I think about the Gies program and like how that's going to prepare you for your financial future, I think of the financial professional of the future, and that's someone with, a background in accounting and analytics, or someone with a dual background who can really add value in a different area. And I think having that opportunity and exposure to analytics is really going to set you apart in terms of other candidates, as well as when you actually get on, when you work in public accounting or the corporate world, you'll have that extra skill set, even if it's not on the job description, where you'll be able to add a lot of value kind of in areas that people might not even see yet. So yeah, just to conclude, I think like whether you're working at a public accounting firm, whether you're working at, a corporate position, you're going to really be able to leverage a lot of these analytic skills as well as your accounting skills. And that's going to really kind of set you apart in your career. At least from my perspective, I've experienced that a lot. And yeah, just appreciate you guys having me today, and look forward to any questions you guys have.
So I told you we had a great panel. So these are fantastic comments. A lot of great fodder for your questions. We're getting a lot of questions in. And again, you continue to put those in the Q&A and upvote the ones that you like. And we're going to go ahead and start answering those right now. Evan, thank you. I really appreciated several of the things that everyone said, but Evan, just let me touch on something real quick. And that's the idea that the dual skill set that you have from accounting, the accounting that you have, and then from the business analytics and the programming, that you're able to use that dual skill set. Those two together really has been help you be successful. It allowed you to be a bridge, right, between creating the visualizations and doing the technological side of it, to being able to talk to the auditors in your case and help them have tools and use these tools to make their lives easier. So I love that. And I know that's really what we're trying to do in the master's program, is help you be that bridge, help you possess those two skill sets so that you can be successful in that way. All right, so let's get to your questions. I have just a couple quick notes ahead of time. One, people love the idea of Kim's RPA club. I know it's a fantastic idea. I like it a lot too. She's doing that as part of her efforts for the Disruption Lab and for the center. So contact her directly. Just search her name, Kim Mendoza, and you'll get her email if you have questions about that. And I know she has, she's promoting it as well, and she'll be happy to put you in touch with that stuff and get you involved. Again, secondly, any questions that we don't answer live here, we'll collect those and we'll do our best to send answers directly to whoever asked that. But let's go ahead. I'm glad that we've left time for questions, and let's ask a question to the panel. So panelists, here you go. So we know the question goes, this is from Vito, that data analytics is the future of accounting. I'm glad we know that, Vito. We do. But he or she asks, what is the future of data analytics itself? Okay, so to be more specific, what kind of software and analyses will become more and more prevalent? So panelists, please just jump in and go ahead. Beth, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll start with that. There is a proliferation of tools that are out there. And I think we've talked about some of the common languages we use and tools we use. Certainly in my practice, we use Python, we use R, we use Tableau, we use ClickView, we use Alteryx, we use Power BI. And when you serve clients, a lot of times you have to operate in whatever tools your clients have. And so we use a lot of those. What we're starting to see a lot of proliferation of is what I call low code, no code tools, which is a little bit misleading because there is an element of coding involved in all of them. But they are meant to take a business user and allow you to advance automations and AI cases without being a data scientist. And I think this aligns directly with your 570 and 575 courses. It's heavy concentration on the business problem, aided by modern tools. And that's the direction that I see analytics going, and why I think programs like yours are spot on. Be a specialist in terms of the business content you bring, but have this well-rounded capability to be able to look at problems in a different light.
Yeah, I completely agree that don't worry about the tool. Once you learn how to do these tasks, it's the same thing in every tool. So it's the first one's the hard one to learn. Once you learn the first one, the second one's easier.
I'd have to agree with Vic, definitely, because I feel like our ACCI 570 course, we could teach it in any programming language, or we could teach the visualizations in any visualization software. We just chose ones that are very popular now, but the concepts that we teach are universal across all programming languages, across all visualizations you might end up creating.
Yeah, I would also agree with that. As someone who's an R user, I picked up Python like really fast because the syntax is very similar. They're both open source, which means that different people that can kind of contribute to the programming language and add what's called packages. So that's another type of, in analytics, open source is something that's also been really popular over the past couple of years, because it allows kind of this ability to share and add on rather than something that's just straight out of the box and only can be kind of updated by the people that own the software. And then, we also talked about things that are more user interface focused. I know that from a machine learning perspective, there's software out there that will also kind of automate machine learning. That's another thing that's been kind of popular lately, where basically you could say, here's my data, which model is going to make the most sense with this data set. So that's another kind of thing that's been coming out as well recently.
Great question. Great question. Thanks, you guys. I couldn't agree more. Let's move on to another one. So this is from Abigail. As students studying accounting, we've been told that AI poses a threat to some entry-level accounting jobs. How do you think that students entering the workforce can differentiate themselves and learn to understand AI to remain competitive?
Be happy to start with that one because I feel pretty passionately about this question. I'll take our organization. We're hiring more people, not fewer. And the reason is because AI is allowing us to expand the scope of what we can do. AI is taking away certain tasks. So far, I've yet to see a task that we've taken away with AI that we aren't happy to see go, right? And so in the field of accounting, in the field of tax, in so many fields in finance, there are so many manual tasks that happen in huge volumes. And so we're working on automating and making decisions using AI on those tasks first. We have a long way to go before AI catches up with the human brain. And there's no risk in the near term, midterm, or long term of that. As I mentioned before, we talk about humans with machines. It's allowing us to get past the data manipulation and the data crunching and move straight to the analysis. And so for me, I'd be super excited as a person entering the workforce to be able to get quicker to the insight, to the things that I really get to use my brain, to the analysis, versus some of the manual tasks that we all swim in. And Evan, I'm sure you can provide some real good examples of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say to really think of it more as an opportunity rather than, something that's potentially going to take your job away or anything like that. As Beth just mentioned, we're taking away the tasks that no one really wants to do in the first place anyways. And when we think of analytics and especially this program, you can really hone your skills in analytics and visualization. And that's something that's really, in the future, like an opportunity, the way I see it. I don't see the accounting industry being kind of, getting destroyed by automation or anything anytime soon. Kind of as Beth mentioned, a lot of the AI tools, they're great, but they don't take away kind of the human thought process and all that.
Yeah, and let me give an example of a project we're working on right now in tax. We're taking fixed asset data. So how it works in tax is you get a client book fixed asset information, and now I have to assign lives and methods under the tax rules. And so we'll get a client's data. Let's say there's 5,000 fixed asset additions in the course of a year. That's not unusual at all. We have to go through and decide the tax life and the tax method and the tax class for each of those assets. And so how people do it is they start filtering, right? Okay, so everything that was software from a book perspective, let me go and assign that 3 years. I click some filters and do that. And then I do more filters and more filters. And so you could spend several days figuring out the tax rules. So what we're doing is we're using machine learning now. And so we train on that specific client's data to code the fixed assets. And so instead of starting with a blank piece of paper, you start with an answer and a confidence and a second answer. And so now you can start focusing on the high dollar assets, the lower confidence assets, the longer lived assets. You can start providing some real value in a review step rather than spending days like clicking and filtering and entering data. So that's just one example that I think highlights how you get faster to the real analysis and less time in the data.
Yeah, and I would just add one more thing. not everything's always about efficiency either. There's kind of like an effectiveness piece of that as well, especially from an audit perspective. Like a lot of what we do as well is just from like a risk assessment perspective, really understanding, the business more by looking at full populations of data. So, some of it's not always just about saving time and automating processes. Some of it's about, better understanding the business as well.
To kind
Fantastic.
of
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead, Kim.
a little bit, understanding the business. I think what we do in ACCI 570 with RPA is we're trying to meet that need of being able to stand out, because when we teach you automation, we not only teach you how to automate, we're also trying to teach you how to identify what processes in a business are good candidates for automation. And so I think that's a way you can stand out too, by taking something like ACCI 570.
Good. Thank you, guys. Let's go on to another question. So this one, I think I'll direct probably to Beth first, again, if that's okay, and Evan can jump in. The question is, what opportunities from Kay here, what opportunities in data analytics are there for mid-career accountants looking to make a switch? Our audience is not all young college students. So, and I think everyone feels, of course, the push towards analytics.
Really great question. I think it's a great way to sort of have a reason to make a switch, right? So it's a great opportunity to learn a new skill set and then present yourself a little bit differently. That's sort of what I did. I am a tax professional by background, but came to this field of analytics, studied it, kind of on the fly, and then I used that to find opportunities to deploy it, either within our firm or with our clients. And so I think getting a skill set like this, just instead of coming at a problem like the way you always have, suddenly you have this whole set of tools to let you look at a problem or a process or an opportunity with a new light. I think that gives you the perfect skill set and mindset to sell yourself as a little bit different valuable employee.
From my perspective, one thing I wanted to share is I wasn't someone like classically trained in analytics, but I think having the accounting background, the actual logical thought process of, being good at, understanding the different sides of the entries, of journal entries, that kind of goes a lot with coding a lot. It's very logically based. And, when you're doing analytics, it's kind of the same idea. So to me, those things they kind of flow together very well. And then I'll say, the audit teams I work with nowadays, a lot of them don't do analytics kind of as full-time as I do, but we're starting to see like a lot more integration of them building out their own visualizations, them working directly with us. So the tool that they use a lot is Power BI. So they'll build visualizations in Power BI, but then also Tableau as well. We'll provide visualizations to them, and they get experience kind of working with these different tools. Yeah, I would say if the opportunity is out there for you to get involved with analytics, I think that's something, at least for me, that's very exciting and it would be a great opportunity.
Thanks, guys. Awesome. I'll just add real quick that only, I think, Vic on this call has a computer science or at least an engineering background. I think every one of us has skilled up as we've gone along throughout our careers in analytics, as this has become more and more important. So it's certainly out there, and certainly we're examples of being able to do that. The other thing I'd add is we have a wonderful, again, if you are a seasoned professional, we have a wonderful IMSA program. It's an online program where many of these classes are similar to them are offered. Okay, another question. This is from Chris, and I think this maybe comes from a professional, maybe not someone who's not an accountant. So I think this is great to address this. How are smaller, mid-sized companies or startups able to take advantage of data analytics from an accounting standpoint? Now, it seems like only larger companies have the resources to facilitate the gathering of data. And again, I think probably Beth and Evan are best for this. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'll take that to start. I think, few years ago, 3-4 years ago, that was absolutely true. It was the space for largest clients. And really why that was not so much the analytics element of it, but the data side of it. Anytime we take on an analytics project, what we're really taking on is a data project. And so you have to have access to data to be able to do any of this. And a few years ago, that really was the space of large companies. But now with the explosion in terms of how organizations are moving to the cloud and the investments they've made in the data side, we're seeing that with the advent of these tools and a higher number of professionals who start to have this skill set, that much smaller organizations can take advantage of it. And in fact, I think are oftentimes better positioned because you, if you're a private company, for example, your investment and your return on investment just looks a little bit differently than a public company. Or, you know, you have people who own the whole process end to end more frequently. And so if you have the right people who have the skill set that we're talking about, and you have access to data, size of organization doesn't matter.
I would say, you know, analytics are important across all organizations, but at a smaller organization, you might have a chance to potentially differentiate yourself even more with the use of analytics in an accounting department, just because, you know, you might be relied on more for certain kind of responsibilities. So if you can bring that extra skill to the table, you might really be able to, I guess, just add an additional layer of contribution to that organization.
Let me just follow up real quick on that then with Kim and Vic briefly. So Beth talked about no code or low code tools. Evans mentioned Power BI, and we've talked about Tableau. So kind of what, you know, so those are tools, you know, that any organization could pick up and use. I'd like Kim and Vic maybe to talk just briefly about what the program teaches with Tableau and those no code or low code tools, in addition to all the coding you do.
Sure. Tableau is very similar to Power BI in that it's a visualization software, and low code or no code, it would be considered a low code or no code tool because you kind of point and click. The other software that we use is Uipath. That's our robotic process automation software. And that software is actually available for free to anyone to download from their website. So I think, like Beth mentioned, a lot of these tools are becoming available to anyone who's interested. You just need to know where to look.
Yeah, I'll follow on, and where I think, let me tell a story. There's a local business, I can't share which, I have to kind of disguise this, so apologies if it's vague. I go there all the time. It's think of it as something like a mini golf type place where there's an activity that happens. You can either be a member or come in and just pay a la carte. And they decided to have a competition every other Wednesday night. I know a lot of the employees there, and one of them pretty well. He told me it was his idea. And I'd been curious, is this profitable? Because if you're doing this, then people who just want to come in and play can't do it. Only people who come in pay to do the competition. So my friend who works there said it was his idea, and he went back through all the data that they had on when customers arrive and found Wednesday nights are their least traffic night. And he estimated the amount of revenue they would get from having this competition and the amount they would lose from customers who just wouldn't come that night. Sold this to the manager, and they're actually making some money on this. The point here is, there's 2 points. One, you know, Beth was saying the data is a necessary condition. Yes, but small businesses have a decent amount of data. Mm-hmm. Bigger point is it's a mindset. It's a way of thinking. So if you have this way of thinking, you can use a no code tool, you can use a code tool, but you're still doing the same thing. You're thinking through what can you do with data and trying to come up with an accounting number. So, there's a lot that small companies can do with the data they have.
I love that example. That's a really great example, Vic.
All right, great. You guys are fantastic. And these questions are wonderful. I've got another really good one from Cheyenne. I'm probably saying that wrong. Okay, here's the question. If I want to continue pursuing this intersection between accounting and data analytics, is the CPA a requirement? And will the opportunity to move up in this field be hampered if I do not get CPA qualified? I guess, again, we'll let Beth take a shot at that. And if we have one other of you wants to jump in after that, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to start by saying I think the CPA is a great qualification. If you're eligible or close to being eligible, go for it. I think that it will continue to be a really important qualification. Setting that personal view aside, logistically, when you're in a large firm, a public firm, the CPA is one, you need a credential to get promoted to certain levels, and the CPA is the traditional one. And in my firm, you can't get promoted to manager without being a CPA. Now, as we've started to hire a much more diverse population, and we don't only hire accounting graduates, we're starting to accept other qualifications for that for that advancement, including things like an Azure developer, or some of the things that are relevant. And so now we really look to relevance to your day-to-day responsibilities and try to match the right requirement. But we do in all cases require someone to have a certification that's at the level of something as rigorous and full as the CPA. So short answer is, if you're eligible for the CPA, definitely go for it. If you don't have the full background for it, find a qualification that's similar to that.
Excellent. Thank you, guys. Let's ask one more quick question here, and then I think we'll move on to finish up. So I do want to remind everyone, there's several questions that we've had a lot of really fantastic questions. We won't be able to answer all of them, but we will do our best to follow up and get back to you on those. So this last question, they mentioned that they've heard the panelists talking about data analytics in accounting and auditing, but what about in finance? So Vic, maybe if that affects you, so you've done some of that research, or if Beth wants to jump in.
Sure, I'll take that. How much time you got? Yeah, it does relate to finance. We can talk about this for a while, but I'll keep it short. So finance is really broad. Let's focus on a very specific case. You have a hedge fund, and they have lots of stock trading data, and maybe they want to relate it to financial statement data, or conference call with analyst data, or earnings announcements. You're trying to tie all these in and see if there are correlations or patterns in the data that can help you predict the return of a security in a future period. This is what hedge funds do. They're taking all this data and looking for something that can give them a very, very tiny advantage, maybe 0.1% return over the next month. But yeah, so stock trading, asset trading is one example of this. And we could go on, but we're running out of time, so I'll stop with that.
We are. Thank you. And I want to give everyone a chance to say one more thing. So let's go ahead and do that now. If you guys want to go ahead, Kim, Vic, Evan, and Beth, just another parting comment or a piece of advice to close out here, and then I'll have some closing remarks.
Sure, I'll go ahead. I just can't say enough good things about the program we have here at Gies. I think we really try to stay on the cutting edge, and we respond to what we hear people from the accounting firm saying and what our students are saying. And so I think we're constantly changing what we're offering to be exactly what's needed at this point in time. So I highly recommend looking into it. And if you're interested, please feel free to reach out.
Yeah, my closing comment would be feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or Twitter. And I think the best way to learn more about the relevance of this field is to do some reading and just read about use cases that you hear of, and you'll see how relevant this is becoming in all of these fields.
I would just go ahead and say that, everything's always changing. Now analytics is the new thing. So it's really important to be like a lifetime learner. So yeah, for me, it was learning about analytics, and that will be a great opportunity for you, but just keep your eyes out for what's the new technologies, kind of what's going on, because the little bit more you can kind of know, the more you can learn and the more you can really add value to any prospective employer.
I would say that a lot of what we're talking about today will be useful to you regardless of what you want to do. If you want to do a career in business, in accounting, you don't have to be a data geek, but chances are you'll want to be able to talk with the data geeks because they can do stuff for you. So just learning a little bit of the basics allows you to talk that language and understand what insights you can get from data, and then you can direct people to help you get it. So think of it as learning a language. So I would encourage you to, even if you don't concentrate in it, learn enough about what you can do with data in a business setting that you can talk to people who work with this stuff all the time.
Hey, it's been really great time. I wish we had another hour to listen to our panelists. I want to sincerely thank them for their time and effort, their preparation, and being here today. And we're grateful for their participation. We're grateful for you for coming and listening today. I hope it's helped you see the opportunities that are available in the Masters of Accounting program. I'm confident that the skills that these are skills that are needed right now, that they can open doors for you and increase your value to your employer. I think here in the accountancy department, we're purposeful about thinking ahead and innovating so that our students can be prepared and positioned to seize new opportunities whenever they come, whether those be right now after graduation, or kind of like Evan said and Vic said, later on, 20 years down the road, maybe in the future. I think we're doing our best to prepare you to be successful. We wish you good luck in whatever you're doing, and we wish you a good night. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.